Hello and welcome to Palindrome ASMR. Today I'm going to be trying something new and different. I'm a writer, which is you probably know this already, but if you're new to the channel, yeah, I'm a writer. I've written 7 books so far, though none of them have been professionally published, which I don't know if it's due to me or if it's due to the publishing business. I can't really tell because I'm the author. So that's part of it, really. But if you want to support me, you can buy my books. I'll put the links in the description. There's one for 99 cents. And if you happen to like it, you can tell your friends about it, I guess, and get them to buy it too, and hopefully it'll go viral. But yeah, whatever. Anyways, so I'm working on a new project, and I want input on how that project is doing. But, however, I don't want to use the peer-to-peer critiquing system online. I don't have any friends, number one. I don't have any friends to share this with, really. I don't have any friends in general, but I don't have any friends to share this with, and I don't want to do it online because the online reviews are often toxic, and a writer's ego is a fragile thing. And well, see, when you read writing the way you read it on places like Scribophile, you're sort of predisposed to attack it. And though there is a system where it improves people's reactions, it's still ineffective. And I've participated in this. When I am critiquing works on Scribophile in order to get my own works critiqued, I find myself being very harsh with my critiques. And I focus on the language inaccuracies because I can't get a feel for how the story progresses, and it's impossible on Scribophile to get someone to read an entire story, which is what you have to judge stories by, because there are plenty of good stories with writing that, when isolated, may not seem like the best writing in the world. Eragon and Game of Thrones are 2 examples of this. If I were to judge the writing in Eragon and Game of Thrones, I would say it is about mid-level. It's the level of someone who, it's not the best. And when it comes to analyzing writing style, I'm very good at it. I have a very good instinct for the flow and pacing of sentences. Though that might not come out in my work, I don't think, because I critique my own work very harshly when it comes to technical aspects. I do think that I am good at reading other people's writing and deciding if the writing is any good. And I think the writing in Eragon and Game of Thrones is not subpar, but it wouldn't stand up when isolated. It wouldn't stand up if it was isolated, if it was removed from a good story, which is how you read works on Scribophile. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing this critique session in chunks, and I will be doing this until I reach the end of my work. And every time I have new parts of my work, I will upload a video reading it. And so this is probably going to take up most of my upload space, because the videos I've been uploading are pretty much standard ASMR content, except they're a little bit more geared towards me talking than anything else. And I think I need to branch out and find my own thing. And this is the thing that I think I am going to do. A open critique, where you, the viewer, are helping me write a book. And if I run out of stuff to read in my new works, I'll read old works instead. And actually, I just got an idea. I think maybe my channel should become solely focused on this. What do you think? You watch a couple of these videos and tell me, what do you think? Should I be solely focusing on doing the kind of video where I read my work? Because I have a huge body of work. I have 7 novels and maybe 10 stories that haven't been completed, that are over 30,000 words, or 20,000 words, I'd say. I have over 1 million words of content to read out loud and get a critique on. And you, the viewer, are going to be contributing to this while also being entertained and hopefully relaxed. So without further ado, let me begin reading this book. This is a new work. I don't know the name yet, but I've been putting a lot of thought into it. Normally I just bang out writing really fast, but this time I'm putting a lot of thought into what happens. Okay, here we go. Chapter 1. A Factory Ribbon. Toby grinned, holding her new dress up to the window, watching it sparkle under the sunlight. It was yellow, an expensive dye, with even more expensive red color marking the outer edges. It must have cost a fortune to buy. Her parents watched her with bright eyes. It was clear that they wanted to see her happy. Today was her 12th birthday. Toby had been waiting long for this moment. It was the moment when she can start doing things on her own and living like a grown-up. Her father knelt down beside her and smiled, ruffling her hair with his hands. It was a familiar gesture that put peace into Toby's heart. Toby wanted to laugh out loud, but she knew that she had to be serious because she was grown up now. She only stood up to her father's waist at the moment, but with her birthday past, she was just a little bit closer to him, just a little bit more like an adult. Her father was a peaceful man, both in action and appearance. His face was soft and rounded, still untouched by the crudeness of poverty, and his eyes sparkled when he spoke. He had the aura of a kindly gentleman, and probably could have been a butler if he had been born into a better position in life. Toby's mother still had her hands behind her back. She looked like she was hiding something, and she also looked like she was suppressing a large grin. Toby thought about it and decided that there was something else. Perhaps it was a ribbon. That would be the perfect last gift, even though Toby didn't want anything more, and really didn't like her parents overextending for her sake. She looked at her mother and smiled. "Ah, you caught me," said her mother, laughing a little. She brought her hand out from behind her back and held out a green ribbon, too pretty to have been made in any cottage. It was a factory ribbon, a luxury that even the daughter of the richest person in town couldn't have access to. There were no factories in Aleria, and because of that the ribbon had to come across the great gap in a skyship, through the arid desert of Ca, past monsters and bandits and through every type of trader imaginable. Toby had learned this in her lessons, and to see one now, she couldn't imagine it. Not with the dress, just the dress was enough to make her happy. Toby couldn't hold it any more, and she started to cry. "Why?" she said. "I didn't ask for this." Her mother reached out behind her hair and tied the ribbon in her hair. Alright. Her mother reached out behind her hair and tied the ribbon in her hair. That is an awkward sentence. I'll change that. Toby's head and tied the ribbon in, I don't know. This is an article thing. So her mother reached out behind Toby's head and tied the ribbon in, should I put Toby's head or her head? Because if this was a male and a female interacting, it would be easy. I would just use his or her to specify. See, when you are speaking about two subjects in one sentence that are the same gender, it is often difficult to properly identify who the her or him references. So in this case, her mother reached out behind Toby's head and tied the ribbon in her hair. Now, obviously, from the context, it's implied through the context that Toby is the one who is being tied because her mother's hands are behind Toby's head, but grammatically it could be interpreted to mean that her mother, and it's even more vague because the mother doesn't have a name, it's her mother, which adds another layer of inconsistency. And so when you are writing, you want to avoid inconsistencies as much as possible. You want to make it easy for the reader. You want to make it so that the reader doesn't have to find from context which article you are referring. However, her mother reached out behind Toby's head and tied the ribbon in Toby's hair is kind of long, and it doesn't flow so well because you're mentioning Toby twice. You're being extra clear. It costs more to be clear. I could A, use her and emphasize efficiency over awkwardness, and B, I could use Toby twice and emphasize clarity over efficiency, or C, I could reword the sentence entirely to get rid of this problem. So, the reason why I burp so much is because speaking in this voice sort of opens up my esophagus, and when that happens, it gets the gas going. And as I say before, the reason why I leave this in and don't edit it out is because someone somewhere might actually like it, which is, I'm saying this is the internet, and I personally am on the weird corner of the internet. My channel is small enough to where it is only accessible by those who like this kind of thing. And I'm not saying any of you are weird like that. I'm just saying this is, you clicked on a video into the weird portion of the internet, obviously, since this video has less than 100 views, probably. And you should be expecting, I'm catering to my audience here by burping, by not editing it out. And that is my reason for not editing it out. And also because I don't want to actually do the grunt work of cutting this stuff out. But that's secondary. Okay, anyways, back to the writing. Her mother reached out behind Toby's head. Toby's mother. Let's put Toby's mother. Toby's mother. So because I've indicated Toby in the beginning of the sentence, alright, here we go. This is I'll explain why this works. Anyways, so Toby's mother reached out behind her head. No, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. No, it doesn't work. Anyways, the reason why it doesn't work is Toby's mother reached out behind her head. It's even worse than the previous sentence, but I'll explain why. Toby's mother reached out behind her head and tied the ribbon in Toby's hair. Toby's mother reached out behind her head, taken alone, without the context afterwards, would mean that Toby's mother reached behind her own head. And only the second clause, and tied the ribbon in Toby's hair, implies that her was actually Toby and not Toby's mother. So that's actually worse than the first sentence. So Toby's mother reached out behind Toby's head. Yeah, you know what? All right. We're going with clarity. No. All right, let's decide. Anyways, the paragraph before, Toby couldn't hold it anymore, and she started to cry. Why? She said, I didn't ask for this. Her mother reached up behind Toby's head, so it flows. The article, even though it's in a different paragraph, I learned this the hard way by experience. What happens is you have a person, a character, and as long as you do not mention any other characters, you can continue using the pronoun for as long as you desire. So as long as you mention no other characters, you can use a pronoun without mentioning the name after the first mention for pages at a time. If you really like internal monologues, if you're doing a long internal monologue, you can get away with using pronouns for pages at a time without ever referencing back the original name. And if you do reference the original name, it sounds awkward. This is just a writer's tip, I guess. Yeah, so it sounds awkward if I say Toby's mother because there is a preceding paragraph. Writing always builds on the paragraphs before it. Sentence by sentence, you build. Paragraph by paragraph, you build. Story beat by story beat, you build. So Toby couldn't hold it anymore and she started to cry. Why? She said, I didn't ask for this. Her mother reached out behind her head. All right, you know what? All right, there we go. That works. In Toby's hair. There we go. Toby couldn't hold it in anymore, and she started to cry. Why? She said, I didn't ask for this. Her mother reached out behind her head. There we go. And that works because it is flowing. And this works in this case only because it is her mother instead of Sophie. Or I guess that's the name of Toby's mother. I haven't decided that yet. But I don't name characters that don't need names. So Toby couldn't hold it anymore and she started to cry. Why? She said, I didn't ask for this. Her mother reached out behind her head and tied the ribbon in Toby's hair. Listen to that for a minute. Let's say that again. Toby couldn't hold it in anymore and she started to cry. Why? She said, I didn't ask for this. Her mother reached out behind her head and tied the ribbon in Toby's hair. It's rickety, I'd say. It's unorthodox grammatically, but it's a combination of all of the ideas I told you before. So essentially what happens is her mother reached out behind her head is one clause that precedes a direct dialogue statement, like a direct reference to this character. Toby does an action. She speaks. And when a character speaks, your mind and attention are on her. And you sort of skim the next line. Her mother reached up behind her head. And this her, because of the proximity to the dialogue above, is actually your brain, if you read it slowly out loud, it sort of falls apart. But when you're reading this quickly, your brain automatically matches Toby with the second pronoun, her. Even though grammatically this her can refer to either her mother or Toby. But because of its proximity to an action done by Toby, it's allowed, or it's gettable. It's the best option I could find besides rewording the entire sentence or changing the story, which I don't want to do. Anyways, let's continue with reading. I'll read until the end of this chapter, and then I'll ask you guys for your opinion. Her mother reached out behind her head and tied the ribbon in Toby's hair. It was so smooth, so silky, made of a material that didn't exist anywhere else on the continent. It was so shiny, too, much shinier than the ribbons that the other girls who played around town wore. It was too much. Toby wrapped her arms around her mother and said nothing else. Just tried to stop feeling so overwhelmed. Her father picked up the dress and held it up. "We'll leave if you want to change," he said. Toby nodded, and her parents left the room and allowed her a moment alone, while she changed into the beautiful green dress, complemented by the even more beautiful green ribbon. And for the first time in her entire life, it seemed, Toby was truly happy. On the shelf behind her, a small egg shook. It was white, speckled with dots, watery in texture, with an aura of power emanating from its shell. And when Toby was finished dressing, just as her parents were about to enter, a small crack appeared on its top. See how long the second chapter is. Yeah, I'll read the second chapter. Or let me think. This video is already 20 minutes long, which is my aim. Is what I aim for. Is 20 minutes. You know what I should do? Do you see that? You saw that, right? Let's see. Let's add a new window capture 1, Word document template.exe, window class. Can you see this? I'm doing this on camera because this is something that okay, you know what? I'll be right back. Let's see. I don't know why I'm recording this, actually. I think I'm going to leave it in. But it looks like the recording can't generate a new image. But, let's see. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna end here, and tomorrow I'll be back with an actual Word document, with a Word document here. Yeah. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. This is what the format will look like, except you'll see an actual Word document right here. And what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a different video for each chapter. I'll probably upload both videos tomorrow. I'm making another video after this, I think. Yeah, I'll make one video for each chapter. Anyways, this is the end of the video, and so if you haven't already clicked away, just, whatever. You can keep watching. Yeah. Anyways, I'll catch you later.